This is a disclaimer that while discussing this case, we present a lot of our opinions, and our opinions are just that, opinions. They are not facts.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Ectoplasm and Evil.
Ectoplasm and Evil, let's go.
We're 6 in, and next week is 420.
That's right. So we need everybody to submit their haunted while high stories.
Please submit them. Please arrange a call with us because we'd love to talk to you.
We would love to talk to you. We'd love to have you on air talking about when you were haunted while high.
Haunted while high. Let's do it.
Got Olo in the lap here.
Got Olo in the lap.
Because he can't be trusted to be on his own.
He can't.
He's got less than 12 hours until he gets his stitches out.
Yeah, he's almost there. He's
right?
at the home stretch.
It's tomorrow, yeah. Tomorrow morning. The thing is, if you leave him on his own, he's just going to chew those stitches.
He will.
He's just going to run into shit.
Yeah, like we had tethered him pretty nicely to like a table leg, but he figured out a way to tangle himself up in there, so it's a little dangerous, honestly.
Yeah, and if we put him in the crate right now, I think he's just going to scream.
Yeah, he definitely will scream. He's going to yowl.
He's going to yowl. That's the word for it.
He's a big yowler.
Big yowler. In fact, if we had known that about him, we could have just named him Yowler.
We should have named him Yowler.
That would have been a pretty accurate name for him.
We've relocated him to his crate.
He's been relocated to his crate. Hopefully he will behave.
Hopefully he'll behave. I just can't wait for all this to be over. We still have so long to go.
Yeah. Got yet another new setup this week.
Another new setup. We're keeping on the trend of trying new stuff.
We're just switching it up, you know? Like, I don't think there's necessarily an ideal place to film this podcast. You know, we don't have a studio per se.
Right. So we're just trying new things.
Yeah, we're just trying new things. I mean, this is pretty comfortable.
It is pretty comfortable. Honestly, I prefer this chair to the couch.
Yeah, I like it here.
It's like, it gives me a little more stability. Not stability.
Right, yeah.
I feel like my back is being... I'm being forced to sit with the right posture.
Lean back a little bit, or like,
yeah.
I guess I'm still leaning forward, but
we'll figure out. We'll probably be in a new setup next week.
Probably.
I can already tell you're done with this setup. Actually,
yeah,
I'm getting that vibe from you. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about the murder of 18-year-old Sivaloganathan Vithiya. Apologies in advance for any mispronunciations.
Oh boy.
All the information I have on this case is via articles in the BBC News, an article by Surendra Ajit Rupasinghe for the Colombo Telegraph, the Daily News, Economy Next, the Tamil Guardian, an article in the Sunday Leader by Pfizer Shahed, and an article by Tulsi Mutulingam. Trigger warning for gang rape and extreme violence.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah. This is a very disturbing case, so please proceed with caution. Sivaloganathan Vithiya was born on November 25th, 1996. She and her family were displaced from the island of Punguduvetu in northern Sri Lanka in 1990 as a result of the Sri Lankan Civil War and ended up in Malawi. During the final months of the Civil War in 2009, Vithiya was studying in Colombo, but her family, who were still in Vani, were caught in the brutal fighting and ended up in the Menik Farm internment camps. Vithiya and her family managed to relocate back to their native village in 2010. The islands off of Jaffa Peninsula had been under the control of the Sri Lanka Navy since 1990. During this time, the islands became notorious for the numerous cases of rape and murder, most of which were blamed on the Navy and the government backed
Numerous cases.
Yes, numerous. This was not just a one-off incident. This happened many times.
Just a well-known fact about that area at the time.
At this time. Mm-hmm.
Being perpetrated by the Navy and the government.
Not perpetrated by, but it's believed that the corruption kind of fostered this environment.
I see. So perhaps it was just happening a lot, but the government was not doing anything about it. Exactly. Like people could get away with their crimes. Right. Unsurprising.
Yeah. And the government backed by Elam People's Democratic Party parliamentary group. Vithiya's school was 2 kilometers from her home, and she'd usually bike there along with 2 other girls who lived close by. However, on the morning of May 13th, 2015, the girls she went to school with were sick, and her brother Nishanthan, who would otherwise have taken her to school on his motorcycle, was out. So 18-year-old Vithiya left for school alone on her bike at 7:25 a.m. Her journey took her through a small secluded pathway that led to the Aladi Junction. However, on that fateful day, she never made it to her school. The school day day ended at 2 p.m. and normally Vidya would be home by 3 p.m. When she failed to return home after school, her mother Swasti and Nishanthan went to her school where they were told she had not been at school that day. A relative of the family who ran a boutique near the school also told them that he had not seen her that day.
What year was this?
2015.
2015.
So not that long ago.
This is recent.
This is very recent.
So, I mean, okay, here's what I'm curious about, right? I guess we don't know what's going on in terms of what that school was like where she's from.
Right.
But over here, if you didn't show up to school by a certain time, they're calling a crib.
Yeah.
Right? I guess clearly, though, her school did not call the crib.
They did not call the crib.
So that's fucked up.
It is fucked up.
We already have a lesson to be learned here for schools that don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to take attendance and call the crib if the child is missing, specifically for that reason.
Yeah, because you're losing valuable hours to
You're losing valuable time if something happened and someone went missing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens here.
Right. Okay, so it's after school that they find out that she never showed up to school.
Yes. So then at 6 p.m., Vidya's family went to the police checkpoint at Guru Katavan to report her missing, but according to reports, the police weren't interested, instead saying that Vidya may have eloped with a lover.
How old was she?
She was 18.
Right, you said that. But their first reaction is that she may have eloped with a lover.
Right. Their claim was that this sort of thing happened a lot with kids in that age group. And
somehow I doubt that.
Yeah. Yeah. That
happened
was what they
a
claimed.
lot?
Yeah, they said it was pretty common.
Okay, that's just fucking stupid. All right. So they didn't take her family seriously at all?
No, they didn't. The family then went to the police in Kates to lodge a complaint about Vidya's disappearance, but it was not until 9 p.m. that a lady police officer took their complaint. Now, despite me saying all this, it's important to note that Vidya's mother denied reports that the police were dismissive and rude to her. She actually said that it was difficult to communicate with them because they only spoke Sinhala.
And what do they speak?
That I don't know.
Okay, but not Sinhala.
Not Sinhala. She said, only the three-wheel driver who took us to the station could manage a conversation in Sinhala, and he haltingly explained our situation to the police.
Is this their local police precinct?
Yeah.
Damn, so that's pretty crazy to think that at your local police precinct, they don't employ one person that speaks a language that is spoken by locals.
Yeah.
Right?
It is crazy.
If there are multiple languages being spoken in the area that they serve, there should be at least one person present that speaks that language.
I totally agree.
Because that's why this fucked up shit happens right here.
Yeah.
Right? It took them long to communicate.
Right. It wastes time. Once again, we're already running out of time because she has lost a school day.
Right.
And now she's losing even more time.
Yeah.
Because it's taking them time to go to the station, time to get this report in.
I mean, I can't, unless we're wrong or whatever, but I can't imagine that whatever language they spoke, that they were the only people in the neighborhood that spoke it.
Yeah.
Right? So there's multiple people in this neighborhood that if they need police, they have no way of communicating with them.
Right. You should have a translator on site.
On site, yeah.
That should be like a thing at every police station.
Standard, yeah.
Well versed, like you said, in every language that's available in that community.
Yeah, what you kind of figure out what the locals speak.
Right.
And make sure you have someone that knows how to speak that.
Yeah, absolutely. They said that with girls of her age, 18 years old, elopements were common, but they weren't rude about it. They sympathetically told me not to worry, that it might be, after all, a voluntary elopement and to go home, that whatever had happened might come to light the next day. They also told us to keep them informed of any developments, end quote. It was raining heavily and past midnight by the time the family arrived at home, but all this talk of elopement gave them a sense of hope. To their knowledge, Vidya didn't have a boyfriend, nor was she romantically interested in anyone, but they were desperately hoping that she was just all right somewhere. They went out to look for clues, along with the villagers and their 2 dogs. Vidya's mother said, quote, "We didn't consciously take the dogs with us. They just happened to come along. As soon as it dawned, we went out, and the dogs, who are not usually in the habit of following us outside, came too. I suppose they sensed our grief and perhaps missed Vidya and wanted to look for her as well." Now, as they were all out searching for Vidya, Saraswati said, "Even the local people, when we were looking for her all over the place on the day she went missing, snickered that she must have eloped."
Why is everybody fucking obsessed with this elopement idea?
I don't know.
I would like to see a tally. I would like to see some data from that village of how many people actually eloped. They're saying it as if it's a fucking commonplace thing.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe who knows? Maybe it is. I guess we don't know. But I would be willing to bet that it's not as commonplace as they're thinking it is.
Yeah.
And also, even if it was commonplace,
right,
if someone goes missing, right, for you to just jump at, well, they might have, they probably just fucking eloped.
Yeah.
You're being insensitive and, fucking just problematic is what you're being.
I completely agree. It feels like gossip. Like you're just using it as an excuse to gossip about someone else.
Doesn't make any goddamn fucking sense.
No. That shouldn't be your first train of thought.
People snickering.
Yeah.
A girl is missing.
Yeah.
You're out here snickering?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When I denied that my daughter had any such inclination, some suggested that perhaps some boy infatuated with her, even without her complicity, might have abducted her.
Okay, that's... Now someone's thinking.
Yes. All this talk confused me and lured me into thinking it might be a possibility. I kept nervously wondering how and where we would find her, but I certainly never ever thought that we would find her as we did. Gang raped and brutally murdered.
Jesus Christ.
And this is not a one-off situation. It would be bad enough if it was, but it's even worse that this was a thing that was happening a lot.
To multiple girls.
To multiple girls. There were, I believe when I was looking, there were 3 other cases like this. And that was just 3 that were reported that I saw.
Was it being done by the same people?
No, but there is a theory that I'm going to get into as to why these might have been happening more commonly.
A theory beyond people are just fucking garbage.
That's obviously part of it. But yes, there is more to like why this was potentially a thing, especially at this time.
Got it.
At dawn, Nishanthan, Saraswati, the villagers, and the 2 family dogs resumed their search. They walked through the same narrow, secluded pathway that led to the Aladi junction. Suddenly, the dogs started barking, and one of the dogs, named Jimmy, found Vithiya's shoe. Jimmy led Nishanthan toward Vithiya's body, and they passed her bike lying on the ground. They found Vithiya's body in an isolated spot by a dilapidated, abandoned house.
How far from their house was it? Do you know?
I don't know how far it was from their house, but it wasn't that far because Nishanthan will actually say that he looked around there the previous day.
And missed it. Or it wasn't there. Or, I mean, she wasn't there.
That's what he thinks. And I'll talk about that. I have a direct quote by him that I want to share with you.
Got it.
She was naked and her legs were spread apart and tied to 2 separate trees using the ribbons from her school uniform.
Oh my God.
She was gagged with a piece of cloth. Her body had been heavily mutilated and her skin tone had changed as a result of the blood she lost. Her breasts had been brutally ripped off her body, reportedly using a blunt knife.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She had been forced to swallow her undergarments, which were found inside her body close to her chest.
What the fuck is going on here?
Everything wrong. It appeared she had suffocated to death. Her school bag was nearby. Nishanthan said the animals knew it was finally the dogs who led us to her body. Now, this is that quote from Nishanthan.
That's her brother?
Yes. Nishanthan believed that the abandoned house behind which his sister's body was discovered was not the actual scene of her rape and murder, saying, quote, I went out the previous day along that path to search for her. The dogs accompanied me then too. How come they didn't sense her there at that time?
Right.
I think the perpetrators had abducted her to one of their houses and then simply dumped her body there past midnight.
That's what makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. Nishanthan called the police in Gates at around 7 a.m., but they failed to arrive, prompting Nishanthan to call the police in Colombo using the 119 emergency telephone number. The police eventually arrived at the scene at 11 a.m., but by then many people had gathered around Vithiya's untouched corpse, some of whom had taken photos of the crime scene and uploaded them online. Lishanthani, who is Vithiya's older sister, was rightfully upset about this, saying, why are people doing such despicable things as sharing my poor sister's photo like that over the internet?
That is despicable.
We as a family find it deeply offensive and insensitive to Vithiya's memory. Nishanthan had some thoughts as well, saying, they say that this photo circulating of Vithiya's body was taken by local vigilantes to raise awareness on what happened to her. That's not true. If you look at the picture, you can see her dry body on a dry pile of leaves with bloodstains from her mouth to her chin. It had been raining the night before we found her. I was the first to see her body and it was waterlogged, lying on muddy water-soaked leaves, and all stains, including blood, had been washed off from her body by then. In fact, he adds, the police, when they eventually showed up at 10 a.m., told us that the rain might have done much damage in washing away whatever evidence there was. I think that it was the perpetrators themselves who took this photo and then released it. They felt so invincible and proud of their actions, and they felt able to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, like beyond fucked up.
That's... wow.
Now, this murder prompted widespread anger and demonstrations across the country, particularly in northern Sri Lanka. Students staged protests on May 14th. Local residents on the island blockaded roads with logs and burning tires. Police dogs were used to trace 3 of the suspects, who were brothers in their 30s and 40s.
So they found them?
Yes, they find them.
It was 3 brothers?
It's 3 brothers, but there's more, because after they were arrested on May 15th, they ratted out another 5 suspects.
Jesus.
Yeah. The 5 suspects had been attempting to flee the country, but the people of Jaffna rounded them up and handed them over to the police on May 17th, 2015.
The people found them?
Yes.
Well, shout out the people.
Yeah, the people really went in. And it's like, if you didn't have the people in the village, I don't think this would have been solved.
Right. The police would have fucked it all up.
They wouldn't have done shit.
Right.
Now, before they were arrested, these 5 had gone from Colombo to Punguduvitu on May 13th, but then they went back to Colombo only to return for Vithiya's funeral.
What?
Yes, they had the fucking audacity to come back for her funeral.
Did they know her?
There is a theory, but this was disproved by Vithiya's mom. Basically said that this wasn't true, but people were saying that their families feuded, but Vithiya's mom said this is not true at all.
That she didn't know them at all.
Yeah. And then there were other news articles saying that there was a robbery next door and Vithiya's mom had reported it, and maybe these were the same people, but she said, I don't think that that's the case at all. She doesn't think they were the same people.
It was a random abduction.
So it's not going to turn out to be as random as it seems.
Okay.
Because one of the people, according to a different confession, knew her.
Got it.
Now, remember how Nishanthan said that the animals in the family knew?
Yes.
They knew about this.
Yes.
Okay. They really knew about this because Nishanthan said, quote, on the days leading up to her funeral and at the funeral itself, the dogs and goat acted half crazed against certain individuals, wanting to headbutt or bite them. We thought they had become unbalanced with grief as we had tied them up, but it turned out the individuals the animals had been reacting against were Vithiya's rapists
that
and
makes
murderers.
a lot of sense.
Yep. They had the nerve to show up repeatedly at our house to offer their sympathy until the police caught them.
That's disgusting.
You know exactly
There's
what
so
you did.
many levels.
I can't even begin to peel that onion. There's so many levels of just disgusting. So many layers vile.
Wow.
A suspect by the name of Mahalingam Shashikumar, also known by his alias Swiss Kumar, who is said to have spearheaded the conspiracy, attempted to flee the country by using some of his political connections. However, he was arrested on May 18th at a guest house thanks to a tip by the guest house owner in Colombo, who alerted the local police. The police eventually arrested a total of 12 people and filed indictment charges against 9 of them, including Swiss Kumar. The other suspects were P. Indra Kumar, also known as Sinaraja, P. Vijay Kumar, also known as Ravi, P. Tawaka Kumar, also known as Sendil, Mahalingam Shashidharan, also known as Shashi, T. Chandrakant, also known as Chandra, Shivadevan Kushanathan, also known as Peryathambi, P. R. Kunganathan, also known as Shishanthan, and Jayadaran Kokilan, also known as Karu. Several senior police officers involved in the investigation were subsequently transferred, and the police investigation was taken over by the CID or Criminal Investigation Department.
Which is a step above?
Yes.
Sounds like maybe that's their like FBI.
That is. If this had been left to just the police, there would have been no way this would have fucking even gone anywhere.
Yeah, the police are the people who from the jump were like, oh, I bet it's elopement.
Yeah, but the CID was serious about their business. They went in on this investigation. They did not fuck around. On May 20th and 21st, a hartal or a mass protest was observed in northern Sri Lanka. Shops, businesses, schools, banks, private transport, and even government offices were closed across the northern province. When the suspects were brought to Jaffna courts on May 20th, 2015, stones were pelted at the courts and the protesters demanded that the suspects be handed over to them.
Did they?
They didn't.
God damn it.
I wish.
They should have handed them to the fucking people.
I wish. They would have fucked them up.
That's what they deserve.
That's no less. They deserve worse.
They deserve way worse. Wow. I wish there were enough people to just forcibly take them.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Wow.
So because of how crazy the crowd was going, though, the police had to use tear gas to control them.
Come on, yo.
Yeah.
They tear gassed the crowd?
They tear
gassed. Who were there for a good reason?
Yeah, they tear gassed the cause.
That's fucked up.
And on top of that, more than 100 people were arrested.
What?
Yeah. And
come on, yo.
Yeah. And 37 of them were under 18.
Bruh, y'all motherfuckers be arresting people for the wrong reason. You don't be arresting who you need to be arresting.
That seems to be true everywhere.
That's a common fucking thread, man. Motherfuckers never be arrested who they need to be arresting.
Yeah.
It sounds like they arrested kids that came to protest a correct thing, right?
Absolutely.
The kids came to say, these fuckers need to be brought to justice.
Yep.
And we don't want to stand for this type of thing happening in our country, in our neighborhood.
Yep.
And they arrested them.
Yeah.
Man, that's all the way fucked.
And it, like you said, this is a common thing and it happens everywhere where like, why aren't you focusing on the criminals?
Right. Yeah, no, there's fucking evil criminals present in your own city.
Yeah.
And it sounds like right under your fucking nose.
Literally right there.
You know what I mean? And
the people had to round them up.
The people had to round them up because you ain't doing your job.
Yep.
Yeah.
This actually marked the biggest public demonstration recorded in northern Sri Lanka.
Okay, so the people rallied for this.
Oh yeah, the people came together.
Do you know whether this incident caused any sort of a change in terms of whether the police were held more accountable by the government to be enforcing this, whether they upped punishment for these sorts of crimes? I mean, did it cause any type of a major change?
So I don't know that it did. However, they did make an example out of an officer on this case who they suspected of working with Swiss Kumar, the head of this whole operation. Oh my God.
So that's even worse now.
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm not sure that any actual things changed.
They made an example out of him how?
They end up like arresting him.
Should have made an example out of him by fucking kicking the shit out of him in public.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Giving him to the people.
Exactly.
They would have torn him apart.
That's what I was getting at.
Mm-hmm. Nicola Emanuel, a human rights activist, said, quote, if the police had acted immediately soon after receiving this complaint, Vithiya could have been saved. It took 3 hours for the police to visit the scene of the crime after the family members found the dead body. A key suspect escaped and was later arrested in Colombo. Police delayed bringing this suspect to court, and that angered the crowd waiting outside the courts, and the trouble started.
What's the trouble?
The people going crazy and pelting,
got it.
The tear gas, the arrests.
Got it.
The people of northern Sri Lanka felt that criminals were gaining the upper hand, and there were a lot of rapes and murders taking place.
They're correct.
Yep. Impunity was on the rise under the previous government and had paved a way for the crimes within the community that were taking place.
Right.
Local people felt that the police failed to take some of these crimes seriously enough at first. I'd say probably all of them.
Probably all of them. Yeah. I mean, and it sounds like even to a certain extent, the community themselves were failing to take it seriously at first because there were people in her neighborhood that were snickering.
Yeah,
right?
And saying that, that were saying like,
probably
this is elopement.
Yeah, so this is kind of a fucking poisonous mentality that permeated the whole environment, it sounds like.
Yeah. Nalia Somaskandraja, a retired civil servant, said, quote, the people think that the police have not done enough to protect them. In past cases, criminals were arrested but then released on bail, or they were not punished at all by the courts. People are worried the same thing will happen again in this case. The perpetrator should be punished in front of the people so others dare not to commit the same crimes.
There we go.
It's so unfortunate that he was retired.
Yeah.
Sounds like a guy who would have done something about this from the jump.
It does sound like a guy that would do that, yeah.
On May 23rd, 2015, Jaffna Magistrates Court banned protests within the city limits of Jaffna.
They banned protests?
Yes, after this incident.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you want to stop the community from doing something themselves to prevent this kind of thing from happening.
Absolutely. I mean, if I was a criminal, I would think twice, 3, 4 times.
Because you're seeing that the community is rising to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would hope you might think that, well, the next time the community might catch me before the cops do.
Yeah, and if they do, they'll fuck me up.
Then you're I wish that when they caught those dudes that they turned over to the police that they didn't.
Me too.
They should have not turned them over to the police.
They should have
fucking handled their business.
Yeah, that would have been so lit.
You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah.
It sounds like the police don't be arresting anybody anyway.
Yeah.
So you might as well.
Or if they do arrest them, they let them out.
Right, yeah, so...
All right, so seeing as how the climate fostered a lot of crime, as it turns out, there were a couple schoolboys who did happen to have witnessed something. Nishanthan said, quote, this island suffers under too much of a climate of crime, along with too much of a climate of fear of exposing the criminals. This is why incidents like these happen again and again. Even in Vithiya's case, 2 young boys aged 10 and 13 had seen something, but had been too scared to say anything. Though they initially admitted to being witnesses at least in part to the crime, they have now been coached by their parents to retract the story and say they saw nothing. End quote.
My God. Well, what did they see? The abduction?
Well, that's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you right now what they saw.
Oh.
According to the family, when they went looking for Vidya at 3 p.m. on May 13th, when she still hadn't returned from school, the only one to talk about seeing her at all was one particular schoolboy. He said that he and a schoolmate had been trailing behind Vidya on their cycles when she turned a corner ahead of them and they heard a crash. When they turned the corner themselves, they had seen her overturned bicycle and one shoe, but Vidya herself was missing. One of them had also seen a flash of a yellow shirt among the bushes, but nothing more. They had apparently continued on their way to school without thinking to mention this incident to anybody.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. It just seems like that's a very obvious bad situation.
Yeah.
Right? It could not be anything good. So you should report it immediately.
Yeah.
It sounds as though there's probably nowhere to report it that would do anything about it.
That would do anything about it.
So I don't even know what, but man, that's...
And also, like, I guess if crime is a big problem there, maybe because they're 10 and 13, they're like, oh shit, if we tell anyone about this and the wrong people find out, we're probably going to die too.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's a whole fucked up sort of cycle there. I can understand from their POV if they are afraid of repercussions from criminals and the police are not doing shit to help.
Right.
Then their fear is probably real.
Yeah.
So they're probably thinking to themselves like, yeah, you know what? I report something. The cops do nothing, but these guys find out that I reported them.
That's right.
And now I'm fucked.
Yeah, what happens?
What happens? So the whole system is fucked.
It is. Vidya's mom said, quote, I screamed when I heard this story. I asked the boy repeatedly why he hadn't thought to raise the alarm, at least to the teachers. At school, the teachers had merely thought Vidya was absent for the day, but she was a girl who didn't like to miss school even if she was sick.
So it was weird that she was absent then.
Yeah.
Meaning that it should have seemed weird.
I mean, once again, like you said, regardless of whether or not you think she's just absent for the day, you're supposed to get a call from the parent.
Right.
Or you call the parents.
Right, for this exact reason.
Yeah, it's for child safety that you do these basic things.
Yeah.
The rapist had planned it well to kidnap my daughter on her way to school. We didn't think to look for her until several hours later, and by then it was too late. The 7th president of Sri Lanka, President Maithripala Sirisena, met the family in Jaffna and promised them a fast-track court and swift investigations to bring the criminals to justice. Despite this, Vidya's mother had been told not to expect much, saying, quote, this is not the first time horrific rape and murder has happened here. The perpetrators in each case are never brought to book, and as soon as her body was found, people told me that those who had done this to Vidya would never be brought to book either.
Who told her not to expect much?
The people in the town. People in the village.
Right, so they're just so fucking used to it.
Yeah.
You know, we keep hearing about the other people in the village. Are these the same people that were snickering?
I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap there.
Because I'm just not fathoming how, at the one hand, you're snickering and talking about how it's probably elopement, but on the other hand, you're so familiar with this sort of heinous crime happening,
right,
and it not being anything done about it,
yeah,
that you're telling someone that, like, well, yeah, since we're familiar with this in our community, you can expect little to no results in terms of justice.
Right.
So then, if you're that familiar with it, when a girl goes missing, you should immediately think, hey, this is probably something bad.
Right.
At the very least, we should not be snickering.
Yeah. I'm sure the snickering people were like just like a handful of random gossipy, bitchy aunties, basically. That's like what I'm thinking. Could be wrong.
Right.
I have faith, however. I went to the temple and tried to light camphor to send my prayers up to God. It was raining and I couldn't light the camphor. I raged at God for not giving me even this solace, but then it stopped raining. The rain stopped only until I could finish lighting the camphor and make my prayers, demanding that the perpetrators be caught. As soon as I finished and turned back to go home, it started pouring again. God heard my prayer. That very day, I heard 3 people had been arrested and many more arrests followed in the days after. I want justice for Vidya. President Maithripala told us that it was not within his power to deliver Vidya back to us, but he would do all that he could within his power to deliver justice. We are waiting.
They're still waiting?
No, this was the quote taken at that time.
Got it.
The case was taken up for hearing at the Jaffna High Court on June 28, 2017. The High Court at Bar was headed by High Court Judge Balendra Shashi Mahendran. The other High Court judges were Anthalingam Premashankar and Manikya Sagar Ilanchalian. On July 15, 2017, the CID arrested Senior Deputy Inspector General Lalit Jayasinghe on a charge of obstructing justice and helping suspects in the rape and murder case. Jayasinghe was the senior-most police officer when Vidya was gang raped and murdered.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Police said in a statement, Senior DIG Jayasinghe was arrested by the CID for allegedly allowing a suspect in the Vidya case to escape. He is being taken before the magistrate in case. Jayasinghe became the most senior officer to be arrested on a charge of obstruction of justice.
Was he bribed, or did he know them, or both?
I think a bit of both.
Okay.
This was one of the political connections they were talking about when they were talking about Swiss Kumar trying to use political connections to flee.
Got it.
Jayasinghe was questioned at length by the CID about allegations that he had helped a key suspect, Swiss Kumar, escape from Jaffna and reached Colombo to flee the country. 3 months after the trial commenced, the police continued to hear the testimonies of the defendants and more information came out. A state witness testified in the court that Periathambi gave Ravi a sum of 23,000 rupees to abduct Vidya 3 months before the incident.
Who's Periathambi?
He was one of the suspects.
And he paid another one.
Another one, yes.
3 months before.
Yes.
So this person had their eye on Vidya.
Yes, he did. And according to this witness, Periathambi had been following Vidya for 3 months.
So he's just a fucking creep.
Yeah. And on one occasion, he even went so far as to make a confession of love to Vidya, and she hit him with her shoe.
So he got rejected.
Yes.
Then he decided to pay somebody else to kidnap her.
Right.
And then him and a bunch of other fucking dregs of society did what they did.
Yeah. After this altercation, Vidya avoided responding to Periathambi completely. In addition to this, the Attorney General's department team, led by Additional Solicitor General Dabula de Livra, revealed to courts that the crime was conspired prior to the abduction, rape, and murder with the intent of the suspects led by Swiss Kumar to record Vidya being sexually abused and gang raped and to sell it as pornographic material. De Livra further claimed that there was an international racket involving the sale of rape porn in South Asia, and such a video would have...
That's definitely true.
Yep, raked in large sums of money. However, although
Disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely vile. This was the theory, and I only say theory because they don't find the video.
Oh.
However, although he claimed there was evidence to indicate an intention to sell the video as pornographic material, the video in question had not been discovered. A police spokesperson denied this, saying, quote, "The suspects were caught on the information of local people. We have no video evidence of the crime." Now, this is actually pretty important. There were calls made to the editors of 2 popular Jaffna daily papers who had thoughts of their own. According to one editor, other news sites had made the claim that the video evidence existed and thus the right set of suspects had been caught with a strong case against them. And he said, quote, "We did not make that claim until 2 days ago when Minister Rajita too said that this seems to have been a case of pornography-related crime. We then quoted him on the matter, but we did not make the claim otherwise, and it has not been substantiated till then." According to the other editor, however, local vigilantes who had caught and beaten the suspects before handing them over to the police had reported that they had checked the suspects' phones and found the video evidence. He said, quote, "They said that they handed the evidence to the police too. If the police are now saying they have no such evidence, we wonder how much mishandling has occurred over the investigations on this case."
So they deleted it.
That's what I'm thinking.
To save their asses.
I think this is definitely possible for sure because that same senior officer was arrested who was like there for Swiss Kumar, right?
I mean, from the arrest, obviously
Yeah.
the senior officer was involved.
Yeah.
And he helped them clear any evidence that was going to implicate them.
And on top of that, Swiss Kumar also offered other officers millions of rupees to destroy evidence.
Millions?
Before this case was handed to the CID.
Okay, so then it's pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah. It's very clear. Also, according to some articles, the suspects' homes were destroyed, and it's unclear as to whether they were destroyed by protesters, the rain, or someone else.
Oh, meaning that it could have been destroyed in an attempt to destroy evidence.
Yeah.
Right.
On September 27, 2017, the 3-member judge bench gave the death penalty to 7 of the suspects, including the chief suspect in the case, Swiss Kumar.
Swiss Kumar is the chief suspect. Why?
Because he was the one who had ties to this potential racket ring.
Got it. I thought maybe the guy that paid the other guy was the chief suspect.
No, he's the main one because of the pornography.
Got it. And this entire time, these guys have just been sitting in jail?
Yeah, they've been in prison.
Damn, it's a shame nobody killed them in prison.
I know. The first and seventh accused were released due to lack of adequate evidence to prove their involvement in the murder. In addition to the death penalty, the second, third, fifth, sixth, and eighth accused were sentenced to 30 years of rigorous imprisonment with a fine of 40,000 rupees each. They were also ordered to pay a compensation of 1,000,000 rupees to the mother of the victim. The court also ordered to extend their prison term by 4 months if they failed to pay the fine, and they would have to serve another 2 years if they failed to pay that 1,000,000 rupee compensation to the family.
So it's a certain amount of jail time, and then when that's done, you get the death penalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
In addition to the death penalty, the fourth and ninth accused were sentenced to 30 years imprisonment, each with a fine of 70,000 rupees, and they were also ordered the same payment of 1,000,000 rupees in compensation to
What's
Vidya's
with the
parents.
difference in sentencing here?
I'm assuming Swiss Kumar got more, like he had to pay more.
They should all got fucking life.
Yeah, they should have.
That's what
it's not the time, it's the money. The fines are increasing. Like the fine.
That's just so fucking irrelevant.
It's so irrelevant. That's not the point
Like,
of
this is not a fucking traffic ticket.
No, I agree. It should just be, you're getting the death penalty, fuck you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, by all means, fucking, yeah, they should be bled for everything they have.
Give it all to Vidya's family.
Give it all, yeah, but they all need life in prison.
Absolutely.
That's what they all need.
Absolutely.
I mean, death penalty is a nice way to go out, right?
Yeah.
They all need fucking life in prison.
Oh, I completely agree. Now, for the fourth and the ninth accused failing to pay the fine, they would be further remanded for 4 months, and if they failed to pay the compensation, they would also have to
all right,
face
this is a
another
bunch
2
of
years.
irrelevant nonsense.
Yeah.
They just need fucking life in prison.
I agree. On December 7th, 2019, these 7 pieces of shit had the audacity to file for an appeal, seeking an order from the Supreme Court that the relevant death penalty be declared to have been imposed in violation of the law and acquit them of the charges.
Please tell me that appeal was unsuccessful.
Well, on March 20th of this year, 2023, the appeal petitions just now, they were taken up before the Supreme Court bench, who were consisting of 3 justices, and that 3-judge bench, which considered the facts presented, ordered that the appeals be taken up for hearing on October 6th, 2023. So we can only hope that at that time they uphold the sentence or give them something worse.
This is fucking disgusting.
The fact that it's not being thrown out.
Why, considering the appeal, like, I don't get it. These people are all guilty. You already know it.
Everybody knows.
What type of dumb fucking technicality are they that it was too, like...
I was trying to find the law that they're trying to loophole themselves out of here, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But, like, they're claiming that some law had been violated, but it's bullshit.
This is fucking despicable and pathetic.
It is.
I don't know how the fucking prison system over there works. I wonder if these guys are all walking around in PC. Because why the fuck haven't they just been murked in jail?
I was wondering the same fucking
You know what
thing.
I mean? Like, you're telling me that there's not people in jail that find what they did despicable?
There definitely are.
So, yeah, this is just...
They should be in Gen Pop getting fucked up on a regular basis.
Yeah, they should be in Gen Pop getting the fucking... Yeah.
Just like daily torment.
Yep.
Now, while this is all really fucked up, I do want to close this out with some really sweet memories that I read about Vidya in quotes by her mom, because I just feel like it demonstrates what a beautiful person she was, and I really want to be able to honor that.
I would love to hear.
Vidya's family remembers her as sensitive and soft. She cried when her mother said that they would have to sell the family's goat because they couldn't afford to keep it anymore. She said, quote, "No, Amma, she's part of the family now. We'll reduce our meals and share with her what we eat. Please do not give her away." Every evening, as soon as she returned from school, she would go straight to the pets. Her mother said, quote, "We reared the livestock, the goat, the cow, and the chickens for eggs and milk, but Vidya always treated them like personal friends. I often scolded her over it because she would always cuddle them and get her uniform dirty. She would cuddle them before going to school and then cuddle them as soon as she returned from school. Gutti, the goat, would beckon her with her horned head for more cuddling when she left for school. She would laugh and say, 'I'll pet you more as soon as I get back, Gutti.' As soon as Vidya returned, all the animals would greet her, including Chalamani the hen. She would pick the hen up, pretend that she could understand what it was clucking, and would say, 'Oh, is that right, Chalamani? Amma hasn't fed you properly today? How mean of her. Here, have some biscuits.' Her mother said, quote, she would feed the hen, securely tucked under one of her arms, pieces of biscuits with her other hand, while still in her school uniform. It used to annoy me to no end, but now all these memories are so bittersweet to us. It is who she was. If I ever scolded her for talking to dumb animals as equals, she would say, 'Amma, they are not dumb animals. They are intelligent, sentient beings without a voice. We have to be extra kind to them.'" And it was like this compassion she had to the animals, and they knew what happened to her and who did it.
Yeah, I was just thinking thinking that the animals all clearly had a bond with her.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like she was a wonderful person.
She was absolutely a wonderful person. And may Vidya rest in peace.
Wow. It's, it's heavy.
Yeah, they're all heavy, but this one was really, really a lot.
I guess especially since the potential for justice is impending and potentially not going to happen.
I mean, after the last two cases we've covered where we've seen people's sentences reduced, we've seen people walk free.
That's what I was thinking. It's not a great track record. I mean, and these are all separate places.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be that the world in general has no sense of morality or sympathy for the victims.
Yeah.
There seems to only be sympathy for the perpetrators of these heinous fucking acts.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it.
I completely agree with you. That's it's truly been the track record. And it's really interesting that a lot of these revisions are happening like this year or last year.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that we've talked about has been pretty recent.
Yeah.
Appeals. And that's fucking pathetic. You think with each year that goes by that we come further and further as a human race and
right.
we're making progress and hopefully things are getting better. But, it just seems that whatever, you get to the top of a hill and you roll right back down.
Yeah.
The whole fucking world needs an overhaul. The police system needs an overhaul.
Yeah.
The judicial system needs an overhaul.
Fact.
The government needs an overhaul.
Yep.
Because the people that are making the laws are fucked.
Yep.
The people that are deciding how to apply the laws are fucked.
Absolutely.
And the people that are enforcing the laws are fucked.
Yep.
So it's just a whole perfect storm of innocent people suffering.
Yeah.
Because there's no one to turn to. And especially in some parts of the world, it's worse than others.
Right.
Right? I mean,
it is wild to me how all of this gets to run around completely unchecked.
Unchecked.
Who can you hold them accountable to?
Well, again, I mean, if we're talking about her specific neighborhood, if you have the chief of police involved,
right,
then really what do you do? Calling the police is futile.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense. What are these people supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right? And then who can they call to say, hey, I think my chief of police is corrupt?
Yeah. I mean, thank God the CID stepped in.
Right. But they only stepped in after it became a big public outrage.
That's true.
Right?
Imagine how many other of the victims.
Correct. Yeah. They were victims of these pieces of shit and of more.
Yeah.
Right? Because these guys, of course, this guaranteed is not the only time.
It's not the only time. These are not the only guys who did it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy to think that, the CID was stepped in because it started being public outrage. There was protests. That's what I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise, how do these people get in touch with the CID?
Right, you can't just give them a call.
Right, or I don't know are people aware of this? I don't even know how you would. An average person in this village, how would they even be aware that that's their next step? Right. How would they even be aware that, all right, well, my local precinct is corrupt as fuck and I'm probably aware of it.
Yeah.
What do I do now? How would they know? You know what I mean? Fuck. And there's so many places that are just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally just 2 days ago, a few friends of ours from the UK were telling us about the Metropolitan Police system that's under pretty serious fire right now because so much of that is coming out. And that's in the UK. That's in Metropolitan Police is London.
Yeah.
Right? Of police officers that were abducting and raping women. Just like this. Mm-hmm. And they said that one of the police officers was nicknamed in his police department the rapist for a number of years, meaning that there were a million fucking people aware of this.
Yeah, they knew.
And no one did jack shit about it.
No one cared.
Right? It's going on everywhere.
Yeah, you really got to wonder who's looking out for you, if not the people who are being fucking paid to look out for you.
Right.
What are the people supposed to do?
And that's why you have people like those kids that witnessed it and their families. Right. That, their families forcing them to retract it.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it, because they're probably like, well, the police are corrupt, and their whole job right now is to eradicate evidence.
Right.
Right? If you are evidence, then maybe you're getting eradicated, right? They erased the videos.
Yeah.
And they potentially destroyed even more evidence. A guy who's defending rapists and murderers is not going to stop short of murdering kids that are witnesses.
Absolutely not. I mean, they murdered a kid.
Right, they murdered a kid.
They allowed it.
I totally understand the POV of the families and the children who are scared.
Yeah.
Because
they've seen it.
Like we're seeing, there doesn't seem to be any other resource for them. It doesn't seem to be any protection for wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah. And time again, they have seen this happen.
Right.
They've seen this play out. They've seen the criminals let right back out on the fucking street.
Right. I mean, we've seen that happen here.
Yeah.
Time and again, right?
Constantly.
It's pretty nerve-wracking for people to have to deal with the thought of facing their attackers.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why a lot of it does go unchecked, because
Exactly.
people are not sure of what are the real repercussions are going to be when they come forward, right? People think, well, if I come forward and I say something, are the police going to protect me? Is this person who already cannot be trusted to follow the rules because they have already assaulted me or done whatever to me, is the police going to protect me against them? Is the judge going to protect me against them? Or are they going to be more pissed and come back and do worse to me?
Right. They're going to temporarily jail them, overturn that.
Right.
Let them right back out, and they know where to find me.
Right. We actually personally know people who are dealing with those sorts of issues right now.
We do.
Right here.
Right here.
You know what I mean? So it's multiple people actually.
Yeah.
When I think about it.
Yeah.
Which is pathetic.
It's truly upsetting that you can't trust the law.
You know what I mean? People always rag on, especially women, for coming forward later and saying something later and say that takes credibility away from their story. But the issue is, a lot of the times you have a situation like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Motherfucker, this is why.
Right. Like something happens and they don't know if they report it right away, what could happen.
Yeah, and you've seen it.
In an ideal world, they could have. But guess what? If the world was ideal, it wouldn't have happened in the first place.
Right.
So there is no ideal world.
Right.
And you're left with this situation. And look at this. I mean, it's a crapshoot of whether anything gets done. And also it's a crapshoot of whether or not you will remain safe.
Absolutely.
After that. Because the system is not fucking perfect, and really nobody's guaranteeing your safety, right? Nobody's getting this fucking dope witness protection treatment like they should be.
Absolutely.
Getting. Yeah, and it's all the way fucked.
Yeah, it's absolutely all the way fucked.
I don't even know what people could start to be doing about it to make this better, other than an overhaul of the whole government.
Yeah. Just we need to kick everybody out, re-elect new people who actually are about doing shit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it is, right? Get involved in voting at your local level, or
absolutely.
I don't know, elect people who are going to be, because there needs to be people holding the whole police system accountable.
Absolutely.
Holding the whole judicial system accountable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely vote.
Yeah, definitely that.
If you or anyone you know is a victim of sexual assault, please call the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673.
Well, that about wraps it up for another episode of Ectoplasm and Evil. We'll see you next time.
Or will we?
Ah.